All right, so countersinking the holes is pretty easy. I've selected the correct tap, and I've got myself a tap driver. Tap drivers are great. They're going to be driving the taps off of the actual square shank as intended by the manufacturer, but make sure that your tap actually goes all the way in and then locks in back here. And don't get yourself in a situation where only the square shank end fits into the driver like this, and then think that's gonna work, because it's gonna break this tap driver. So make sure your tap goes all the way into the driver, and then this, of course, needs to be sleeved up, just like we've already discussed. I started using the other drift tool. You probably noticed it. It's faster and easier to use, but I wanted to show you that the regular drift works just fine, but this is just an easier thing to use. Now, my access window here, my slot, the tang is not lined up with it, and I'm at 60 RPMs, so I can't spin this by hand. The gear range is too low, I'm not strong enough. What I can do is two things. I can either pull one of the levers and kind of get it in neutral until I line it up, or I could jog the spindle on and off and hope it stops at the right orientation. I usually will pull a gear selection lever into neutral, position it, and then put it back into gear. All right, so the tap's all loaded up. I'm very confident that it's lined up over the hole because I just countersunk the hole. But we're gonna do a couple things different when we're tapping. The first thing is we absolutely will not be engaging the power feed. We're gonna be hand forcing the tap against the part the entire time that the spindle is turning. And then when we reverse the tap to back it out of the plate, depending on the machine, some machines have enough spring tension that I can just let go and more or less it'll return up out of the part. Other machines, you might have a couple fingers holding the handle with light pressure, helping to pull the tap out. What we don't want to do is, first, if we're not pushing down hard enough, then two things are going to happen. Either the plate is going to get pulled out of the vise, or the tap is going to get pulled out of the spindle, because the tap is trying to screw itself in. It's a bolt that is cutting its own path. So the spindle needs to follow it. And when I say we're going to be shoving down, I mean we will be pulling with pressure, but not all of the strength that you have. But you do need to have pressure going down, and on the backstroke, if you pull up with a lot of force, you will again either pull the plate out of the vise or pull the tap out of the spindle. RPMs, I'm going to go ahead and just stay at this slow RPM. I'm going to recommend that you stay at this slow RPM. The faster the chuck, or the drill chuck, or sorry, the tap is spinning, the quicker everything happens. So we're going to go ahead and go slow. We don't want to do this at 400 RPMs because you would find that tap would screw itself into that plate maybe quicker than you could react with your on-off switch and your forward/reverse. We want to put a mark on the tap so that way we know when to change the spindle rotation from forward to reverse to back it out. I got a 1-inch plate. Taps have a taper. There's a couple different types of taps. So some of them have a long taper, some of them have a very short taper. Whatever kind of tap you're using, what you need to do is look at what you would say is the first little tooth that has the full diameter. It's no longer in the taper section. And then we want to measure from that location up about 7/8 of an inch, depending on how much room you have here. But I know that if I go 7/8 of an inch, then I'm going to be sticking the tap through the bottom of the plate here, maybe 1/4 of an inch, and I have over an inch of gap, so I have 3/4 of an inch of cushion, and that would be it would be pretty obvious I was about to hit it. just using a regular Sharpie. Whatever you got. There's my first full thread. Yeah. And always remove the markings that you put on your tap or a drill bit or whatever it is. You know, we have our Daikin remover. It'll cut through this ink and wipe it clean. So that way the next person doesn't have marks like this person has left behind here. Definitely use cutting oil. I'm going to start the spindle. Like I said, I'm going to have pressure going the whole time. And on this machine, towards me is forward. When I get to the bottom, I will push away, and that's reverse. And there's no rule that says I have to leave it engaged the entire time. I can jog it on and off. So I'm going to start the spindle, continue to pull or push the tap into the part. And I can jog it like I just said. I'm pulling down with my left arm. And I can tell visually that I'm basically at my mark. And then you also probably could hear the motor change its tone when it was free. And when I jog the spindle on and off, see how it just coasts? That's a good indicator that I completely went through the plate. So now I'll just apply a light force to help assist the tapping coming out of the hole. And I'll get to the end and just pull right out. All right, I'm gonna increase the RPM. I was at 60. Let's see what 160 looks like.